All right, and then the last thing that we're going to look at is interpreting function notation in context. So we've kind of talked about this before. I'm just going hitting it again just to make sure that we understand it completely and fully. Charlie worked for a stone setting company this past summer. He earned $50 for just coming to work. So just pause for a second, just think about that. Put yourself in this situation. You are Charlie. You go to work, you go to Subway, you go to McDonald's, you go wherever you work. As soon as you hit the job site, you get $50. Have you worked at all yet? No, you have not worked at all. You're getting $50 just for showing up to work. Then after that, you get an additional $30 every hour that passes or that you work. Okay, so you get $50 for showing up, $30 for every hour that you worked. This is the linear function. So we're going to cover this more detail, I believe, in the next video, but I'm just going to cover it real quick. So remember, your function is always y equals mx plus b. Okay, the one attached to an x or to the variable is your m, and it doesn't matter what order they put it on. And then the one that's not attached is your y-intercept, where you start. So look, that does make sense because I get $50 for just coming to work. I start at my y-intercept, and then every hour I work, so every hour that passes I earn $30, which makes complete sense. All right, before we even begin this question, I'm just going to say this. It's probably best for you to just always draw a graph and label what does your x mean in the context and what does your y mean in the context. So let's talk about this. Time is always something that you see on the x-axis. So this is going to be time in hours. And then obviously on the other axis is whatever else is left. And that's what he gets $50. So we can just say his earnings. Earnings in dollars. Now, we've talked about this before, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Which one is dependent, which is independent? So one of these depends on the other one. All right. Does how much I earn depend on my time that I work? Yes. Does the time I work depend on how much I earn? No. So that means this is my independent because it doesn't depend on anything. And this one is dependent, meaning after I work 2 hours, it determines how much I get paid. All right. So this one is independent. And this one is dependent. And that might be with an E, not an A. My bad. Okay, so once you have recognized which one's independent and independent, you can go ahead and answer this question. So I'm going to do example 9, you do example 10. Now I need to just explain a couple of things. What does E of 4 mean? So when I put 4 in the parentheses, my input is 4. The time is hours. So what does this mean? This means that Charlie worked 4 hours. Okay, so this went Charlie, and again, there's 1,000 different ways that you could write this. Charlie went to work for 4 hours. That's what that says. E of 4. The input is 4. Input is time, so that's 4 hours. So you see if you can tell me what ET equals 300. So this time it's not the input, but it's the output. So what does the output 300 mean in the context of this problem? So when you're doing context problems, make sure you're using the words in the context problem. So you see I use the word Charlie, and it's about going to work. So make sure that you're including that in your sentence. All right, I'm going to do this one, and then you're going to do that one. All right, it says explain what E of 0. So this time they give you an input of 0, and they give you an output of 50. So you get both. So this is time, and this is 50. So at time equals 0, I get $50. That's what that means. But you got to put this in the sentence, right? Yes, you can say that officially and you'll probably get the credit. But I'm going to say, hey, Charlie shows up to work and gets $50. Charlie works no hours and gets $50. Charlie works for 0 hours and gets $50. There's 100 different ways of writing this out. As long as you're using the words in the sentence and representing 0 and 50, you're good. Okay, so I'm just going to say Charlie earns $50 for showing up. That is okay. Or I could say showing up and not working any hours. You know, there's 1,000 different ways, but this is just saying he works 0 hours and gets $50. So please tell me What does E4 equals 15 represent in your own words? Again, make sure you're using the context of the problem. Let's practice.